meat and potatoes here. Sorry about that. If you are a board member at Harlequin Productions, will you please stand up? Our board has had a challenging year, and they've stepped up and they've done great work. I proudly serve as the president of the board, and I'm honored to work for them. I have a couple of transformation announcements to make before I get into it. I'm not going to take long. First, you may have noticed a lot of the changes in our lobby.
Yes.
Yes. We are still in the process of that transformation, but we are moving from a theater lobby to an art gallery space. We will be curating work for that space that will coincide with the work that we have on our stage, both the timeline and hopefully the idea is not that the work is for the play, but the work will complement the work we're doing and the work we're doing will complement that work. I didn't tell Gina how to have people stand, but she's already proven adept. Lucy Gentry is out in the audience. Lucy, would you stand? Curated the work for us for this gallery cycle, and she's exceptionally knowledgeable and very professional. We're excited to have her. You may also know that, well, you don't know this at all. I've written everything else down. Our 2020 season brochure, and every show in our 2020 season has local artists' work curated specifically for that show. Our graphic designer, John Sarembe, is a genius and a wizard. He's in the audience. John, stand up for us. John has painstakingly curated some fantastic work for us to showcase in our brochure and with every show for the season. And when you see a poster, or when you see a program, or when you see you get a postcard in the mail, or when you see the season brochure, which you will later on tonight, that's John's work, and he's amazing. So the next transformation I want to announce is another big season change. So for our 2020 season, we are going to add 2 additional shows to that season. 9 shows. In 1991, this theater began as a scrappy, young, eager theater company started by Scott and Linda Whitney. And they started... They earnestly began in 1991 with 3 evenings throughout the year of 1 act, and those were presented at the Washington Center for the Performing Arts Black Box Theater. That's where we started. And so as a company, we hope for our 2020 season, our 29th year, to go back home for 2 shows to the Washington Center. So the 2 shows we're adding will be performed at the Washington Center in the Black Box. This is what Helen was speaking about earlier when she said we have a full subscription series and a partial subscription series. It will be possible to subscribe for the 7 shows at the State Theater only. The full subscription will include all 9 plays. It's important to note these are not lesser plays. We are not dialing anything back to produce them. The ticket prices are the same. We're putting every amount of energy into them. The difference is they'll run 3 weeks instead of 4, and the house is half the size. So if you're interested, subscribe, or buy those tickets during that River Valley season to get into those shows, because they probably will be full pretty quickly. All right? So finally, before we get started, I know I'm going to get started. I just want to share a little bit with you about my philosophy of choosing work, which I find and feel is probably my most sacred duty in this role and my favorite duty. The work that we choose to present to you, the public, to our community, has to be carefully chosen and chosen to fit what I believe are 3 main tenets. And the first is that the work must first be socially responsible. As a theater company, we hold the mirror up to nature, right? We talk about that as what theater is, but we are not social media. We have a platform and an ability to create dialogue in a way that no other art form can. And I think that's deeply important, and it's deeply that our work be socially responsible and socially responsible for the community we're in. Yes. 1. 2, the work must be artistically viable. I'm not interested in producing work that we as an organization don't believe in artistically. And it's equally important to me that that work be what we consider good or valuable work. And finally, the work that we do must carefully steward all of our resources. We can't be irresponsible in what we produce, and producing just the difficult work, which I think is a great responsibility we have, and an ability we have that many other theaters don't, to be able to produce that difficult, challenging work that may not be everybody's favorite. Many of you saw the show that was just on stage here, Love and Information. And I'm sure that some of you clapped really loud because you loved it, but there are others of you in the audience who probably hated that show. And that's great. That's what we do. That's a risk. Not every show can be a risk. We have to carefully be aware of what we have and keep it. So, enough chit-chat. Is that what you came for? Let's get this party started. I take the sardines. No, I leave the sardines. No, I take the sardines. For our first offering for 2020, we're starting with a classic. Playwright Michael Frayn got the idea for this piece while backstage watching from the wings a farce that he had written for Lynn Redgrave. And he said it was even funnier from behind than it was from the front. Since its West End debut and its subsequent Broadway production, this play has had multiple revivals, including at the National Old Vic in London and a recent 2015 Broadway revival by the Roundabout Theatre Company. New York City theater critic Clive Barnes called it the funniest farce ever written. In 3 acts, Act 1, and Act 1, and Act 1. This is Noises Off.
Noises Off is one of the few shows that you pick up the script and it has everything mapped out.
As an audience member, you're actually really part of the show. You're in an audience of Nothing On, as well as Noises Off, so you're laughing at the show, you're laughing at the show within the show. You're laughing at the actors, you're laughing at the actors playing actors, and you're laughing at the play.
It's just pure silliness. There's no message, there's no deep backstory. There are backstories, but they're all hilarious.
It is just so wildly reckless and fun.
The show is pretty awful, but the show about the show has got to be extraordinary.
I'm pretty good at being bad on stage. I've for years.
Really, comedy comes from trying to be as good as you possibly can with all the obstacles in the way.
Everything that's happening as it smashes, it's like watching the worst bumper car accident you've ever seen.
I think it's going to be a lot of comedy mathematics. Once we get all the nuts and bolts worked out, it'll just be a comic machine that will just sail to mix metaphors, machines to
We don't have time for a dress rehearsal. Don't worry. Think of the first night as a dress rehearsal. If we could just get through the play tonight once for doors and sardines, that's what it's all about. Doors and sardines. Getting on, getting off, getting the sardines on, getting the sardines off. That's farce. That's the theatre. That's life.
Keep the sardines. No, I leave the sardines. No, I take the sardines.
Leave the sardines. Put the receiver back.
Yes, I put the receiver back.
Leave the sardines.
And I leave the sardines. I put the receiver back and I leave the sardines.
Right.
We've changed that, have we, love? That's what I've always been doing.
I shouldn't say that.
I cannot get through this play without laughing like I'm an audience member, and I keep forgetting I'm actually in it. It's so brilliantly written.
You can ride the same roller coaster a lot of times. Even if you know what's coming, it can still surprise you. And I think this play has that. There's laughs within laughs within laughs.
It is a comic masterpiece.
The Beach talks to Miles O'Malley. Originally adapted for the stage by Jane Jones at Booker Repertory Theater in Seattle, this national best-selling novel by a local author takes its setting from in and around the waterfront of the South Puget Sound, and it weaves its way through our own Olympia community. We are so excited to give this local story a professional production and to bring this adaptation back to its home.
And that was read to us in the third grade. And so that was the last book that was read to me that really stands out. And then I went through a science fiction phase, and then I fell in love with novels set out in the area that I live in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. And so Ken Kesey's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Tom Robbins' Even Cowboys Get the Blues. In my teens, those guys looked like they were having the most fun, and so I suddenly realized that I wanted to do what they were doing. I wanted to have that kind of fun.
Please help me in welcoming to the stage national best-selling novelist and Olympia resident,
Authors aren't used to bright lights. I'm happy to be here with you tonight, and I'm very impressed by this whole presentation, and I'm thrilled that they're going to bring Highest Tide to this stage. As I recall, it's about a boy who's obsessed with the marine world, and he keeps finding things in this one momentous summer that shouldn't be washing up on all these beaches around us. And I kind of built the whole story around the premise that most of us go through life so oblivious to the natural world around us that a boy who simply pays attention can come across as a genius or maybe even a prophet. And along the way, the story is also a coming-of-age tale in that the boy Miles is in love with his ex-babysitter, and is trying to keep his parents from divorcing, and is trying to keep a old wise woman alive, and it all builds to a climax. At least that's what I remember. And one of the thrills of having this book out in the world was when Book-It did its adaptation, and Book-It Theater has this real gift for taking books and turning them into plays. And any author that has it done by them is always glowing because they tend to keep our words and they tend to keep the story intact. And so I'm excited to see whatever version of it that Harlequin does. I just wanted to say that I love this theater. I just think it's the perfect size. It's the perfect size, and when you see something here that really moves you, there's no better theater to be at. And just one example of that is my wife Denise and my daughter Grace and I saw August Osage County down in, but first we saw it down in Ashland back in 2011, and then I saw where it was coming to the stage here, and my friend Dan Flanagan was acting in it, and so I was so excited to see it in this theater, and to see it here, directed by Aaron Lamb, by the way, and to see it here, and to see that it was even better than it was in Ashland, and to see that good a theater right here in downtown, grubby little downtown Olympia. It just felt like magic, and so I salute you all for trying to help this theater not only survive but thrive. So thank you.
Do you feel like a grown-up? Our third offering for 2020 is also our first offering at the Washington Center Black Box. This is a brand new play, having had its world premiere at Playwrights Horizons in New York City just this past year. One of the most celebrated playwrights writing today, Sarah Ruhl, has received the MacArthur Fellowship, the Penn Laura Pels International Foundation for Theater Award, a Helen Hayes Award. She's been nominated for a Tony Award and has twice been a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. We're very excited for this opportunity to produce her newest work, written for her mother. This is for Peter Pan on her 70th birthday.
One of my brothers was making a toast and said, "Can you believe she played Peter Pan?" And everyone laughed. I didn't know if it was a joke about my age or my fear of flying or my waistline or all three.
I can't believe I practiced medicine for 30 years only to be reduced to one bureaucrat order written by an out-of-town doctor while my father's dying.
Dad, I'm so proud of you being Peter Pan.
Oh, Annie, when I was little, I thought flying was real because I watched you fly in Peter Pan.
To Dad.
Dad.
Dad, if you're here with us, give us a sign. Oh, shit! You don't understand why it could be heavy. It'd be too heavy and all the bodies would fall down.
Do you feel like a grown-up?
Yeah. And I'm tired of it.
Sometimes I get a panic attack when I first get to Neverland.
No, Peter Pan, you thought you'd never grow up, but you have.
We're supposed to be the grown-ups now.
Clubfoot, Smell of Sulfur, Yellow Dog, No Shadow. Welcome to Germany. For our fourth offering, we'll examine a lesser-known work by a very well-known playwright. Tony Kushner won the 1993 Pulitzer Prize for his two-part epic Angels in America. This earlier work centers on a group of artists in 1930s era Weimar Republic Berlin, and it explores the dilemma of these characters, at first to comprehend and then later to stem the tsunami of Nazi fascism engulfing their society. Originally paralleled with the 1980s America, this play feels even more fresh and relevant now as we watch the tide of nationalism rise in cultures all around the globe. Always exceptionally intelligent and often breathtakingly lyrical, this is Tony Kushner's A Bright Room Called Day. Once Upon a Time. Winner of 5 Tony Awards, 6 Dramatesque Awards, and 3 Olivier Awards, our 5th offering is another classic. Legendary theater critic Frank Rich called this composer-lyricist the greatest and perhaps best-known artist in the American musical theater. But he called himself a collaborator, saying he was always taking other people's stories and reinventing them himself. So for his 90th birthday, we would like to present his reinvention of the fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. This is Stephen Sondheim's Into the Woods.
My mother was non-musical, she was visual. And I used to, my father would play, he loved Broadway shows, and he would come home and approximate the songs on the piano. He'd put his hands on the keys, and he put my hand, when I was tiny, on the melody, because he always played the melody with his little finger at the top. And so that was my exposure to it.
It's very important and much harder than it sounds to figure out what a show is about, even after you've written it. Just say, this is a show about war, and that's no way to write a show. You write a story and see where it goes. And for me, it was about community responsibility. In the first part, everybody acts for themselves, and it brings down disasters. And in the second part, they have to work together as a community to correct their error.
As you know, we end our evenings now with the famous questionnaire of Bernard Pivot from Apostrophe and Bouillon de Couture, and I would be remiss if I didn't play this game with the greatest game player alive. Steve, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word, oh gosh, there's so many. The first one that comes to mind is pioneer.
Yes. What, please, is your least favorite word?
Least favorite word? Least favorite. I like so many words. What don't I like? Let's see. Celery is a word I like.
What, please, is your favorite drug that need not be a chemical?
Music.
The sound or noise you love the most?
I'm afraid it's music again, but that's cheating.
The sound or noise, you can't cheat. The sound or noise you hate?
Anything hitting glass.
What is your favorite curse word?
That's one of my favorites. It's a long word.
Hammerstein told him to be simple. If you couldn't do what you're doing now, what job would you like the most for?
Teaching.
We have 59 students here. What job would you like the least?
Elevator operator.
What plant, tree, or animal would you like to come back as if you could be reincarnated?
Plant, tree, or animal? Standard poodle.
And finally, in French, Bernard Pivot says, si Dieu exists, if God exists, but this is America, so I'll say, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive?
Welcome.
timid to speak. Our sixth play is another brand new work, having had only 2 productions so far, its debut at the Royal Shakespeare Company in London, and the second production at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival just this past season in Ashland. But this new play is a contemporary reimagining of one of the most famous and most ancient stories in the canon. Based on a play of the same name by 13th century playwright Guan Hanqi. This work was originally part of the Chinese translations project of the Royal Shakespeare Company, consisting of 50% celebration of modern progress and 50% homage to ancient heritage and 100% ghost story. From playwright Francis Yachukowicz, this is Snow in Midsummer.
Doi is a young widow who was sold at 7 years old to a woman she calls Mother Tai. At 23, she gets executed for a murder she didn't commit, and she promises to return to the town and seek justice.
I am Mother Tai. I'm a blind masseuse, and I've lost my son and my daughter-in-law because of the Zhang family.
Yan Yun is a businesswoman who's worked hard to be where she is today. She's come to the town of New Harmony with a young daughter to purchase the ailing Zhang family factories, but in order to make the business a success, she has to save the town from the dust and locust plagues.
I'm playing Worker Feng, who works for the Zhang family factory, they're about to get a new boss, and he wants out of this, the land, the place that he's from. And he's a bit of a dreamer, so he wants to go and live in space.
Handsome Zhang is selling the factory he inherited from his father. He's in love with Rocket Wu, and now that he has found love, there is nothing he won't do to protect it and escape New Harmony.
Rocket Wu was born with a heart defect, and thanks to his beloved Handsome Zhang, he had a successful heart transplant. He's desperate to leave New Harmony, and him and Handsome plan to go on an around-the-world trip.
Madame Wong was Handsome Zhang's wet nurse and has worked for the Zhang family for many years.
Dr. Liu is a high-class surgeon in the hospital who performed Rocket Wu's heart transplant. In his private life, he's a devout Buddhist and a vegetarian.
If we still live on a planet that hates injustice, snow will fall from the clouds and shield our remains. Men in this town were born with mouths that could right wrong with a few words. Why are you too timid to speak?
Are you there? For our 7th offering, we're going back to Washington Center Black Box again, with the 3rd brand new work on our season. Also from Playwrights Horizons just this past year, this work by playwright Lindsay Ferrantino dares to ask the difficult questions at exactly the right time. And it does so with grace, with nuance, and with a surprising amount of humor. This play breaks my heart. This is Lindsay Ferrantino's This Flat Earth.
My name is Lindsay Ferrantino, and I'm the playwright of This Flat Earth. This Flat Earth follows a 12-year-old named Julie who's living in her town in her apartment with her dad, who's a single father. And there's been a big event in their our town. This event has sort of caused her to ask big questions about the world and her relationships in it. Is becoming an adult just realizing that bad things happen in the world and just being okay with it, or is becoming an adult changing that and wanting to have the power to change that? And do we even have the power to change that, or do we just accept that the world is full of chaos and move on anyway? You know, I wrote this play maybe 3 years ago. I feel like I'm always sort of trying to find my way into political stories that sort of anger me or make me really sad. Playwriting is a way for me to sort of get inside those headlines and find personal stories within them in a way that I'm not seeing in the news. When you write plays in response to a political issue, there is always that risk. You hope that the issues are going to get resolved and that the plays are irrelevant. And it's a double-edged sword when they're not. You know, the conversation is good to still be having, but we all wish in the rehearsal room that we weren't still having this conversation.
Dungarees, and your lace-up boots, and your keys. Winner of 5 Tony Awards and finalist for the Pulitzer Prize, And nominated for a Grammy Award, this musical is based on the graphic novel of the same name by artist and writer Alison Bechdel. Composer and lyricist team Janine Tesori and Lisa Crone became the first female writing team ever to win the Tony for Best Musical Score for this piece in 2015. The first Broadway musical with a lesbian protagonist, this work tells the story of growing up queer, of difficult parental relationships, and of the differing generational approaches to simply being gay. This is Fun.
He wants the real feather duster used on a bookcase. Find all the books we read and carefully restore. He wants to alphabetize by classification. A volume out of place could start a third world war. As an inch out of position, watch it as a first edition. What are we missing? What have we left out? When he comes down here, what's in store? Welcome to our house on Maple Avenue. See how we polish and we shine. We rearrange and reorganize. Everything is polished and sweet. The chaos never happens if it's never seen. We're a two-whole family quintet.
Caption. My dad and I both grew up in the same small Pennsylvania town. And he was gay, and I was gay, and he killed himself. And I became a lesbian cartoonist.
All right, now because of our season shift, we have two holiday shows to announce. The first one is the 2019 holiday show, so that comes at the end of this year. Moriarty was dead to begin with. For our 2019 holiday show, we want to present you with a very fun and very exciting take on a very well-known classic. John Longenbaugh is a regional playwright based in Seattle. Since he first wrote the script in 2010, it has had numerous professional productions across the country and has recently had some professional productions across the pond in Great Britain. For 2019, we are hoping to solve the mystery of the holidays. This is Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Christmas Carol.
I'm John Longenbaugh, and I'm the playwright of Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Christmas Carol. And I just want to say I am so excited and happy to hear that Harlequin is going to be bringing my show to their theater this Christmas. The reason I'm so excited and happy about it is because Aaron, who is their artistic director, who you all know because he's here, was in two productions. He was in the world premiere production, and he was in the second production, Taproot, a couple years later. And he's the only person I know who has played both the young Sherlock Holmes the first time and Moriarty 2 years later. That shows how much he aged. I cannot imagine a person who would be better suited to helm my show to your theater. And I'm really looking forward, hopefully, to coming down and seeing it as well. So, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for and I'll probably see you around Christmas time.
interesting thing about Christmas in the mid-19th century is that it wasn't the major commercially produced holiday that it is today. In fact, it wasn't even a major holiday at the time. For 2020, we're hoping to immerse you in one of the greatest ghost stories of all time by transforming the State Theater for this, our inaugural year of new holiday tradition. One of the greatest stories of transformation and redemption of all time, with a fresh new adaptation and, of course, stunning special effects and surprises. This is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Here we are on Pepper Street, filming a little promo for Christmas Carol, which involves Stephen
looking mean and moody on the cobbles. I think what I'm most looking forward to about the whole enterprise is just telling the tale. I think everyone worldwide knows it's one of the greatest stories about redemption ever. It's so uplifting and life-affirming. It's just really exciting to be a part of it.
It's a story about change, really, second chances, and how we have the potential to change who we are if we're lucky to have that chance.
To be given the opportunity, yeah.
It's what you would call a very immersive experience, so you probably won't recognise it as the old Vic. It's not one of the shows where the audience sits there and looks at a proscenium march and watches the play happen. They're very much involved in it, so when they come in, there's these pies and satsumas.
Free food, folks.
So the reason for having the audience so sort of informally related to the stage is part of the meaning of it. It's about us all being together and these man's commonalities.
Isolation into joining the rest of humanity.
Dickens wrote it because he really wanted to find a dynamic and effective way of letting people really understanding injustice. It's a social mission behind it as a piece of writing. And so it's a reminder, particularly about Christmas, but for any time of year really, sure, about the things we should be doing to remove inequality whenever we can. And if Scrooge can learn that, the idea is that we can all
hope for all of us.
Hope for all of us to become better people, make the world, design the world to be a better place.
So those are the 10 plays we will be producing between November 1st, 2019 and December 31st, 2020. This is our 2020 season. This is our transformation. Yeah.